Hey, it's Joker News here. You know what it is. Let's jump right into it. Unforgettable rappers signed to Death Row Records. Yes, it's Suge Knight, the Doc, Dr. Dre, and Dick Griffey. Now, they founded the hip-hop record label Death Row Records. The label became massively successful in the 90s with the release of classic albums like Dr. Dre's The Chronic, Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, and The Dogfather, and two albums from the late Tupac Shakir's discography. Reports estimate that Death Row was making about $100 million a year at the peak of its success. Now, the label was instrumental in the commercial success of gangsta rap and its eventual recognition by mainstream media. Now, cracks on the massive music empire began to show when the then CEO, Suge Knight, was sentenced to 9 years in prison for probation violations. This was the beginning of Suge's relationship with the law enforcement. He was arrested for alleged acts of violence and affiliations with gang members on more than one occasion. Now, Suge's troubles were compounded when Tupac, who had released his triple platinum album, All Eyes on Me, was fatally shot and killed after an alleged retaliatory attack in Las Vegas. Suge was also in the vehicle during the shooting and sustained non-threatening injuries. Dr. Dre left the label shortly before Tupac's death, and Snoop Dogg exited 2 years later. Now, Suge filed for bankruptcy in 2006 and officially marking the end of the West Coast label. Now, Death Row Records was auctioned in a bankruptcy court in 2008. Now, Wide Awake Entertainment eventually bought the catalog. And it would change hands a few times, and former artist Snoop Dogg purchased the label in 2022 with aspirations of reviving it. Now, artists who had been signed to the label include Tupac Shakir. Late rapper Tupac joined Death Row Records in a 3-album deal after Suge Knight posted his $1.4 million bond and secured his freedom. Suge also gave Pac's mother $15,000 to help her with house payments when the rapper was in prison. Now, Death Row released All Eyes on Me from the deal. Now, hip-hop's second double album masterpiece, Down South Hustlers, Bouncin' and Swingin', was the first. This technically meant that Pac had submitted 2 of the 3 albums he committed to at Death Row. Now, the album was released in February 1996, and by April of that year had been certified 5 times over with a platinum by the RIAA. Now, the album was later certified diamond, and 10 million records sold during that time in 2014. All Eyes on Me won R&B/soul or rap album of the year at the 1997 Soul Train Music Awards and favorite rap hip-hop artist at the American Music Awards the same year. Now, in 1996, Tupac was shot and killed in Las Vegas. Reports have further suggested that the drive-by shooting was retaliatory and premeditated. He had, however, finished recording of his 3rd album at Death Row, The Don Killuminati. Now, the 7-day theory popularly shortened to Machiavellia, and that was Pac's first posthumous album and the last released with his creative input. The album was further certified 4 times over platinum in 1999 after its debut in August 1996. Now, there have been 5 other solo posthumous albums from the Tupac estate and 1 collaborative album with his rap group, Outlaws. Themes in Pac's music primarily revolved around social injustices in African American communities, and his discography has influenced other hip-hop artists like Nas and T.I., and Pac has sold 75 million records worldwide. And then let's jump over to Dr. Dre, or Andre Dr. Dre Young, has continuously been touted as the most significant hip-hop producer ever. Many people forget that he is also a rapper. Dr. Dre left Ruthless Records with the Doc and joined Suge Knight to establish Death Row Records. He released the cultural juggernaut album, The Chronic, in 1992. And, that project gave us singles like Let Me Ride and Nothing But a G Thing. And, Nothing But a G Thing. And, you just had like these artists and this music at the time that was brought out because of these artists. The Chronic peaked at number 3 on the Billboard album chart. It also went on to receive 3 times platinum certifications from the RIAA. Now, Dr. Dre had left Death Row Records just before the murder of Tupac and went on to establish Aftermath Records. All his solo pursuits have been released under Aftermath ever since. The Doctor has 3 solo albums, 2 soundtrack albums, and 6 collaborative albums, 2 with world-class Wreckin' Crew and 4 with NWA. Now, Daz Dillinger, on the other hand, or Daz, is a rapper and producer who signed with Death Row Records at 19. He is one half of the rap group, the Dog Pound, together with label mate Corrupts. Daz made production contributions to The Chronic and was featured Doggy Style. The Dog Pound would later release their debut, Dog Food, which received positive reviews and achieved platinum status. Now, Tupac's murder led to the exodus of most artists from Death Row, and the label released Daz's debut solo album, Retaliation, Revenge, and Get Back, years after he left the album and the label. Now, Retaliation, Revenge, and Get Back peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Top R&B and Hip-Hop Albums chart and number 8 on the 200 Albums chart. Now, Dillinger has gone on to carve out a successful rapper/producer career. He released the Atla project with Big Grip in 2020. Daz also has a Grammy nomination with Corrupt for Best Rap Performance by Duo or Group for the song What Would You Do? And so jumping over to Corrupt's real name, Ricardo Emmanuel Brown, would begin a 3rd stint at Death Row Records after it was purchased by longtime friend Snoop Dogg in 2022. Corrupt first joined the label in 1992 when he was 19 years old. He left the label after the murder of Tupac. Like many others, he released the Dog Food album as part of the rap group, the Dog Pound, with Daz Dillinger. This was under his first commitment with Death Row. Corrupt returned to the label in 2002. Now, briefly becoming the vice president, he would release his oft-delayed Against the Grain album and leave the label again in 2005. Now, Corrupt re-registered and re-signed with Death Row Records in 2022 as part of Snoop's plan to revamp the label. And then you got the Doc over here, and you got Lady of Rage, and you have Snoop Dogg and Snam Seed. But hey, guys, let me keep you updated with these juicy news. I'm going to make another video on that. Continuing on, stay tuned. Hit that like and subscribe. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. And hey, I appreciate every follower that's coming on board. Stay a part of the game. Stay in tune with the real news. Joker out. Hit that like and subscribe.